Okay, I copied a couple of these shapes, and now how I did that is with the white arrow, and I can go in here and hold Alt and click and drag out. Don't forget to unlock your layers for that to work. So I can go like that. So what I'm going to do is save this as an AI file on my desktop. And then I'm going to open it in Photoshop, where I'm going to show you a workflow that might work for you as far as shading and shadowing information within vectors. Not everybody can, highlight and shadow within Illustrator or have the patience to do that. It looks a lot nicer than the method I'm going to show you. It's very rewarding. But here's my other method. So let's say I get all my base done. I'll put out my base colors with no shadow or highlights. This is a very beginner tool with Photoshop, the dodge and burn tool. So here's my dodge tool. It's set to midtones and 50%. So what I'll do here is with the dodge tool, I can make some light highlights on the top. And because Illustrator comes in as like this transparent background, with a nice thing about the dodge tool is, you can't dodge nothing. So if I go over the edge here, it doesn't really matter. I can highlight right to the edge if I wanted to. To shadow, it's just the opposite of this. It's burn. Again, midtones for that. If you want to lower exposure so you don't over black your objects, because over blacked objects could look kind of funny. Your shadows should contain your color information still. If you get too dark, just because maybe the scene's really, really dark, but keep in mind, you should keep it as much color information as you can within the shadow region. It's called exposure. Another method of actually tweaking out or shadowing the information, let's say I didn't want to use the dodge and burn tool and wanted to learn something else. Here, what I'll do is grab a brush, and I can use any brush I want. Same with the dodge and burn tool, you can use any brush you want. But if you hold Alt and click on a color, okay, and then double click the color itself. If you wanted to up the shadow region on this color, it's at 62%. I will keep the 2 and put like maybe an 8.2 here, and I will get a brighter color. And if I go to like 12, it will get an insanely color. So I always keep the 2 in there, and this HSB is raising the black value in it. So that's a very savvy way of going in here and making a highlight. And then you can use, the opacity, you can use flow, you can color it in different manners. Let's say I had the flow all the way up, but this time I choose kind of like an opacity highlight. And what that looks like is without the okay. And if I used a hard brush, it would look like this. And if I wanted to blend the color on it, oh, there's so many things I could do here. You could blur it, which is here. I'm using a Wacom tablet, so it takes me a couple seconds to get it in there. You can blur it by blending it in this way. Or you can just use the method of grabbing color and using opacity to kind of counteract that. So what I can do here is grab this darker color, and I can work with a much lower opacity and kind of start tinting this back and then bringing it forward, getting rid of my lines. I prefer this method because it builds up resolution. Now, is resolution important in vectors? No. But I'm just showing you other ways to actually handle shading. Okay, so now what we're going to do here in the next video is transmit this back to Illustrator and turn it into vectors.